Today, I'm going to show you how to create Acromantula eggs. The things we will need to create our Acromantula eggs is 1 glass bottle, and I'm using an oil and vinegar bottle that we're going to take the spout off and put a cork on. We're going to use some distilled water and just a tiny bit of rubbing alcohol or glycerin. We're going to use some white water beads, as well as some black food coloring and some dark green mica powder. We're going to use some leather cording, as well as some black jute twine, and some fake spider webs. We will need funnels for filling, stir sticks, and then we're going to use a hot glue gun with a black hot glue stick. I have an optional spider sealing wax stamp and some thin double-sided tape and scissors. And finally, we will need our labels printed on sticker paper, and the link for this is in the description down below. Let's get started. Would you like a chance to win a monthly potion bottle? Then consider supporting me over on Patreon. All of my patrons have a chance to win a monthly potion bottle. Patreon not your thing? No worries. You can become a member here on YouTube, where you get exclusive icons and emojis to use in the comments section. Link is in the description down below. The first thing we're going to do to create our Acromantula eggs is to get our eggs to form. So I'm going to take the oil dispensing spout out of this, and I'll save this for something else down the line, or just to use for me while I'm filling other items. And we're going to end up replacing it with a number 3 rubber cork. So the first thing we're going to do is take our glass bottle and some of our white water beads. Now, water beads are very cool. However, they can be dangerous if you put them in a bad situation. So these grow to several times their size. They'll end up being about that big, each one of them. And if a pet or a child or anyone was to ingest these and then it grow, say, in their intestine or anything like that, it could become a problem. So it's very important to be very safe when you're doing this, which is why we're going to prep this the way we are. Because I don't ever want anyone to get hurt or injured because of something that could have been avoided. So when I use these, all I do is cut a very, very small corner so that they can't go everywhere. Now, I like to then take my container, and we are just going to pour however many water beads we think we need. Now, keep in mind, these get quite a bit bigger than what they are now. So I like to put them in the container that I'm going to have them in, which I think that might be about enough. All right, so then I'm going to seal my main bag back up. So I'll tuck that back in there and seal that up. And then you want to keep these in a dry place because obviously if they get wet, they're going to expand. So by us putting them in our final container, you're keeping it so that it's much harder for someone to get a hold of them. We're then going to add distilled water. Now, they always recommend that you do this with distilled water anyway, just because, again, distilled water is purified, it's cleaner. So we're going to add our distilled water in. And this particular water bead takes about 4 hours to fully blow up. And we won't need to fill this all the way up, but we're going to get it about 3/4 of the way. And then as they blow up, they're going to suck that water in. All right. I also want to preface with not all water beads are created equal. So these particular water beads, and I'll put a link to them in the description down below, these particular ones are made of a super absorbent polymer. It is non-toxic. They are biodegradable and reusable, all those things. However, the first pack I picked up, which claimed all those things as well, were these. And they were a non-toxic off-white water bead. Now, they call this one crystal soil, and I guess I should have realized that maybe they're not quite the same as some of the other ones. So these, again, are non-toxic and biodegradable as well. However, these suckers, one, got huge, and two, they broke very easily. So I loved these. They were amazing. Would have been perfect eggs. However, when you put them in a bottle, even if they were perfect and you grew them right in there, they ended up splitting in half and getting cracks very easily. You can kind of see where some broke apart literally just from being in this container. Here, this is a perfect example. So these, again, I loved them and they were absolutely perfect to make acromantula eggs, but they split, all of them like this. They looked like a grape that got too big on the vine and you can almost like make it talk. So then when it's in the container and you shake it, it just breaks in half. So I decided, nope, those were not going to work because I didn't want you guys to have a bunch of weird half eggs in your container. So these I've tested. They're good to rock and roll. They're 100% regular polymer ones. So if you saw anything floating in here, it's because I recycled my distilled water from these guys because there's nothing wrong with the water. Now, the upside is these are fantastic for being in your garden. So I'm going to add these. You put them in your soil when you plant and it helps keep your water in your soil longer and helps keep your plant hydrated. So these will get reused. I'm going to use them out in my garden with my tomato plants and things like that. But they are not good for our potion. So I just wanted to put that out there. I will link the water beads in the description down below that I'm using, but you pretty much just want to look for the fact that they are the polymer ones, which again are still biodegradable and non-toxic, but they're not going to break apart like these. All right, so now we are going to wait, and I don't even know if you guys can see, but they've already started to soak the water up and they're already getting bigger. But we're going to wait the 4 hours, come back, and we can then finish our potion. All right, so clearly they got very big. Probably a few more than I actually want in there, so I'm going to dump a few off because I don't want the whole thing completely filled. Okay, so I actually think that's probably a better amount of the eggs, and then I'll save these to put into another potion. The next thing we're going to do for this one is we are going to make some black base liquid. And for that, we're going to do a mix of distilled water and a little bit of alcohol. You could also do glycerin, but I'm going to go ahead and do alcohol. So I don't think I'm actually going to need that much because there's still some water in there from growing the actual beads. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of the alcohol in there. That's just going to keep things from growing. Then I'm going to take my black gel food coloring and we're just going to squeeze in a little bit here. And we're going to stir that up. So any black food coloring, none of it is going to be truly black. It's either going to be like a blacky purple, blacky blue, blacky green. So you're going to get a little bit of like a background color to it. So this one's got like a purpley reddish tinge to it when you put a light behind it. But it's definitely black. It's just no black is true black when it comes to food coloring. All right, so we are going to add our black. All right, so now that we have that, we can kind of swirl our little eggs around here. And I just love that we get these like translucent white eggs in there. And then I'm going to fill this up with some more of our black liquid here. And then we're going to add our mica powder. I tested the mica powder in this one, so you may already see a little green at the top. It's just the tiny bit of remnants left over from my testing one. So we're going to add a healthy amount of the dark green mica powder. Maybe just a hair more. Yeah, that should be good. And we're going to mix that in. And I think that's where I want this one. And we're going to see, I feel like that's enough mica powder. We get a really great, eerie, green gold shimmer among our little white eggs. So I think that'll be really good. I'm going to dry the neck of this and rough up our cork. Let's give this a good shake. And I love that the eggs kind of rise up and then they'll fall down. Inside of there. And again, you get this beautiful green gold iridescent shimmer among our black. And then this will settle to just be the black liquid with our eggs. So now to decorate the bottle. All right, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to wrap this section with our black jute cording. Then we're going to go in with some fake spider webs. And we're going to finish with our leather cording. So when we get up here closer to the top, I'm going to add some double-sided tape to just kind of help keep it in place. Because once you go up over these edges and you get close to the top, you have a likelihood of it coming up over that little lip, which isn't good if you want to keep it in place. So that's why we're going to use a little band of double-sided tape when we get towards the top there. But first, we're going to start to wrap down here. So like I said, I'm going to do the leather below it, so we're not going to start at the bottom. This one's going to kind of start in the middle. And to get a better description of how I wrap these, I'll put a link up above to my tips and tricks video, where I go into extreme detail about how I wrap my bottles and why I wrap them the way that I do and all that. Okay, so now that I'm getting closer to the top, I'm going to add a band of our double-sided tape, and this is one I just picked up at the Dollar Tree, but any thin double-sided tape will work just fine. So at this point, I'm going to add another band of the double-sided tape down here to help hold the spider web in place. All right, so now that we have the cording and our double-sided tape, we can take a tiny bit of our spider web. So I'm literally just taking a small little section here and cutting it. So I just have like a little floof of the spider web. And I'm going to kind of pull it apart to try to start getting it into play because I want it up over the whole top and draping over all that black we just did. So kind of stick a few sections down and then just start to pull and wind the spider webs. And we can even bring it back up over. Anything like that to just start to get the look that we're going for. And that's why that double-sided tape is nice, because it kind of helps lock everything into place once you figure out where you want some of your webs. The other thing is we're going to take our leather cording and go over where the double-sided tape is, so that's going to help lock it in as well. All right, so once you get it situated however you like, then we can go over it with our leather cording. Now, if you didn't want to use leather cording, you could just do a natural jute cording, or more of the black, whatever you'd like. But I thought that the leather cording would be nice to go up over part of that spider web. All right, so that brings me to right below my black cording. All right, and that leaves us with our spider web covered cording. Now, there's a little bit of spider web down here. Do this with adults present because it is flammable. But if you just very lightly put your flame up against it, it will kind of get rid of some of that excess, like our jute cording does. It also kind of helps tighten some of it if it's kind of wispy. But just be very careful, and again, do it with adult supervision. Okay. And now that that's done, we can move on to our labels. All right, so I did think about, and we still may, adding a little fake spider to the top. We'll see when it's all done whether I want to do that. But for this one, we have two labels. So we have an Acromantula, and then we have the Acromantula Egg label. A couple things I want to point out on our little label here is I did add that it is a Class C non-tradable good. However, Borgin and Burkes, who is the exclusive seller of this, doesn't care. We are going to place our label on the bottle, and then we're going to have our little Acromantula kind of climbing around the bottle. So we're going to put this one on first, but first I'm going to go around the outside edge of this with a matching black marker, just like we always do. Again, it just helps give it a little bit more of a finished look. Doesn't have that white raw edge after cutting it. And then we're going to peel the backing paper off. And we're going to place this on our bottle. Okay, and then we're going to put our spider on here as well. All right, so I went around the outside edge of my little spider as well. All right, so I have peeled the backing paper off, and I want him to look like he's climbing up the bottle. All right, so now we have our little Acromantula climbing up the side of its eggs. And then I want to add another little detail over here. This is completely optional, of my little spider wax seal. We're going to do that with black hot glue. All right, so while my hot glue gun is heating up here, I have some of our non-stick Reynolds foil here. I love making wax seals on that stuff. It doesn't stick. It's great. And I think we're going to go over the raised detail with some of the same mica powder we put on the inside. You could also do a gold marker. You could do, you know, anything to kind of pull out some of the details of the label. Now we are going to probably put our wax seal here, but I did think about putting it on the very top, and you could definitely do that if you wanted to. Let me see if it's hot enough yet. Possibly. All right, so we are left with our really cool spider detail. And before I peel that off, I'm going to take a little paintbrush here with some of that mica powder. And I'm just going to kind of brush it over our stamp. I started in the middle and kind of worked my way out to just kind of create a little bit of like an ombre effect. But that way we get our shimmer and you can see the detail a little bit better. Then we're going to peel this off of here, which it just comes off like nothing. And like I said, I think we're going to put this like right here on the bottle. But as I said, if you want to put it at the top, by all means, go ahead if you want to do some drips and then add a stamp up there. You know, that's great too. But I think we're going to do just a tiny bit of the black hot glue on the back of this. All right, and we have our really cool little spider wax seal. All right, so now that everything is on our bottle, I do think I want to add the little fake spider up here just to add a little something. So I'm going to just add another tiny drop of our black hot glue just to help hold it in place. There we go. That way it looks like he's climbing up his little web. All right, and I think with that, our Acromantula eggs is done. And this will be a really great spooky addition to our potion and prop collection we make along the way, especially since we're less than 6 months from Halloween. So if you guys like this video, give me the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, and we will catch you guys later. Thanks so much.